Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to share with you a case history of a guy who came to me with sciatic pain, and I'm going to show you how I looked at his pain by using the three causes. Now, as I mentioned in the article, the three causes are posture, poor posture, lack of flexibility, and a biological stress. So a few years ago I had a milkman come and see me. Now this guy was a typical down-to-earth bloke. He must have been in his late 50s, and he'd suddenly got sciatic pain. Now, he believed that he'd got it from lifting a milk crate on his round. And later that week, he went fishing, and when he sat down, he relaxed and he was sitting there fishing. But when he went to get back up again, he felt his nerve trap, or he felt something happen in his back, but didn't know what happened. So he gets referred to me, and I look at his back, and he had indeed trapped his nerve. Now, the first thing that I do is I look at physically what's going on in the body. So he told me what he was experiencing, the type of pain he was experiencing, and that tells me, okay, it's possibly the nerve trapped. So the first thing with sciatic pain is I look and see where the nerve is trapped, because the nerve could be trapped in 4 different places within the body. So I find it's trapped in his lower back, within the muscles. So for the first few weeks I'm working on releasing the trapped nerve, because you have to do that. And once you release the trapped nerve, you have to find out what caused it to trap in the first place. Now, when he lifted the box, it could have been because he used poor posture and he caused the nerve to trap then. It could have been he got out of his fishing chair wrong, and used poor movement, that also under posture, not using his legs correctly. It could be a lack of flexibility, him not being able to move his muscles enough. So I looked at those things first, and for the first few weeks he was getting better. The nerve was releasing. I showed him how to move a little bit easier and how to use his legs instead of his back, and things were getting better. But on the 4th week that I saw him, the nerve had retrapped more severely, this time under his spine. And so in that case, what it meant to me was that something else had happened between the last time I saw him and the time I was seeing him then, that had caused to make it worse. Now, of course, in his eyes, this was a bad thing, but in my eyes, this was something called a healing crisis. I'm not going to get into a healing crisis today. That's a little bit too complicated. But it meant that the body had moved further into the repair phase. So I looked at the biological shock. So remember, the 3 causes are posture, inflexibility, and a biological stress. So we looked at the posture and flexibility, and that was kind of okay. I mean, he was a fairly fit bloke. So the only thing that really left was the biological stress. And sometimes it's very difficult to approach that with the type of bloke that he was, because he was a very grounded, old-timer guy, and maybe not open to those concepts. But I just said to him, he was laying on the table, and I said to him, what happened before, originally when you injured it, before you got out of your chair, your fishing chair, before you lifted that box, that crate, what happened that went against your core values and beliefs, and you can't move forwards from it, you feel stuck? And he said to me that he was on his milk round and he found an iPhone. And he was a little bit too shy to give the iPhone back to the people. He would call them and get them to come down, but he was too shy to give it himself. So he gave it to one of his colleagues, and he stood back in horror and watched as the people who came to retrieve the iPhone had a go at his colleague who was returning the iPhone. This went against his core values and beliefs, and he felt completely stuck. He couldn't move forwards from this moment that he saw this horrific act of almost inhumanity, because his friend was, his colleague was just returning their phone. And this plagued him for a few weeks. And I said, okay, well, if that's what shocked you before you lifted the crate and before you went fishing, what happened between this week and last week about that situation? And he said, oh my God, he said, I saw my colleague who gave back the phone, and I hadn't seen him since the incident. And I was really worried and really upset that he'd be upset by it, that he was upset and traumatized by it. And he said, but when he saw his colleague, he was fine. There was no problem. It didn't bother him. It didn't affect him in any way. And he was totally okay. And that was what caused the nerve to retrap. You see, the biological stress is what, in this instance, caused this guy's nerve to trap. And I'm going to explain it very briefly how it happened, so you kind of get a basic understanding, because stress is very misunderstood, but I'm going to explain it in this particular situation. It's not the same for every situation, but in this situation, this is how it happened. So what happened was, he saw his friend give back the iPhone, and he saw these two people have a go at his friend. This shocked him, and it went against his core values and beliefs, and he felt stuck. So this caused the nerve to trap in his lower back, the lower part of his back being his core values and beliefs, the muscles and the tendons, and the not being able to move forwards, the feeling stuck with it, was the nerve trapping. And he stressed about this for a few weeks. But that day, later on, his body did start to relax a little bit. He started to let it go a little bit, and when he went to lift the crate, when his body had relaxed a little bit, that's when he hurt his back. That's when he pulled muscle in his back, because he was starting to let the shock go. And then later on, when he relaxed more fishing that weekend, he relaxed even further and was starting to let it go, and that's when the nerve trapped. So he did the two things separately. He pulled the back, lifting the crate, and trapped the nerve, getting out of his fishing chair. But it's when he relaxed that he did it, when he was starting to let that shock go. But the problem was, he couldn't really let it go, because every time he went on his milk round, he got triggered by it, he got reminded of it. Every time he saw a phone, he would get triggered by it. It was playing in his head unconsciously. It stressed him out. So although he was trying to let go of it, like we all do, it kept playing in his mind. And gradually over the weeks, it got a little bit better and better and better. But when he saw his friend, he got re-triggered temporarily. And then when his friend said, oh, it's okay, this guy was able to let it go more, much more, and that's when the nerve trapped further and appeared to be worse. But it wasn't worse. It's because he'd resolved the conflict further. He'd let it go more because he knew his friend was okay. And this is a big mistake that people make. People think that pain is in a stress state when you're stressed. And the truth is that pain actually occurs when you are relaxing, when you are letting go of the stress. And that's what happens to this guy. And as soon as I made him aware of that, he actually just let it go and went, oh, is that what it is? Oh, and his body relaxed. I released the nerve, and he never had sciatic pain after that. We was able to keep it gone, and as far as I know, he's fine to this day. So it's very important that you kind of understand, and I said it quite quickly, it was a brief story, and it's not a complete explanation of a biological stress, but it gives you an example of how it works in sciatica, and it gives you an example of how I look at the three causes of pain. And to begin with, when I looked at posture and flexibility, that wasn't doing it, so I had to go to the biological stress if I was going to help this guy become pain-free. If I was going to help him release his sciatic pain so he could do his job, I had to look at those three causes. And when we did, we was able to solve the pain easier and fast so he could get back to his job. I hope that made a lot of sense. If it did, that's great. If you have any questions, then please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to answer questions from people, and I really want to help as many people solve their pain as I possibly can, because there really is absolutely no reason for you to be suffering in pain. And if you are, it's just basically because you're not looking at the one of the three causes of your pain. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, keep smiling, and I will see you on another video.